We're really excited to have Joe Levine to come here tonight. He is a hound. His call sign is WA4HNL. He said he became a hound in 1962, which is before some of us were born. Not me, but maybe some of you. But he is a pilot. He's a member of the EAA, which owns this building, and graciously let us use it. And he's going to tell us what it's about and what it is.
Shut that off. There we go.
There you go. You're in. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, all. Good to be in here. People accuse me of living at Lawrenceville Airport, but it's not quite true. It's only 3 or 4 days a week. And somebody once asked me about the bathroom. That was not named after me. If you see where it says Levine's latrine, that was my wife. She was the treasurer of the chapter when we built all 8 hangars. And she said, well, we've got to build restrooms in the hangars. And the guys looked at her and said, well, why? There's trees out back. And her comment was, if you want the spouses to participate, there will be bathrooms. So all 8 hangars have bathrooms. Some of them even have apartments, but that's another story. I do have an announcement that I thought I would say for this. We had a chapter member die, passed 4 years ago, and he was a ham radio operator. I have 5 pages of mechanical tools that we're going to be selling, but in that there's some amateur radio equipment. We've got a couple of 2-meter antennas. We have some inverters. I'm not going to go through the entire list. I just picked out the amateur radio equipment that I thought would be of interest. An Astron 35 amp power supply with meter. Heat digital voltmeter. Heat power supplies, a couple of them. An ICOM 706 MKIIXG, whatever transceiver. It's been on the air here during one of the GAR's activities. It works very nicely. An ICOM IC 725, Kenwood 731, that's the small one, mobile, MFJ tier and SWR meter. So if anyone's interested, after the program, take a look at the list. I don't know how we're going to do it. I thought I would drag some of the equipment over maybe next month and see if anyone's interested, and then we'll accept offers.
Why don't you select the amateur stuff from the list and put it out on the GAR's email list?
I can do that, maybe.
Or email it to me and I can forward it.
I can do that for sure. Okay, with that, we'll start. EAA is a rather well-established organization, and many have probably heard of it from something other than here. And it began as just an idea in a man's basement, and actually in the coal bin of the house. And that was back in 1953. A gentleman by the name of Paul Poperesny. And Paul was, I get the right slides up here. Okay. Paul was the founder of the EAA, and he had a vision that people wanted to build their own airplanes, and they wanted to restore aircraft, and they wanted to just be involved with aircraft, so not everyone to pilot. He sort of put that together, and it grew, and it's grown to quite an organization. When he retired, his son took over. This thing's jumping ahead, so excuse me if I go back. His son Tom took over for a period of time, and then he retired. We're probably best known for the fly-in at Oshkosh, and I looked at the GAR's website, and I'm supposed to say something about that. So after this portion, I'll go through some of this year's Oshkosh. But that's a picture from, no, that's a picture of Tom. There we go. Why does it jump? Anybody know? It must be a timer. I'll have to speak a little faster, that's all. Picture of Oshkosh from last year. It's quite a show. You'll get aircraft of every flavor, from military to home builds to ultralights. A picture of two of the RVs, and that's probably one of the most popular aircraft that are being built today. The gentleman that built these two, a gentleman by the name of
Mike Stewart.
Mike Stewart. How could I forget Mike? Mike also built the Waco, the Extra, and the Corsair that are hanging here in the hangar. He was a former member and put those together. This is an unusual airplane. It was also built by one of our chapter members' fathers, Bernie Shadnowski, and they recently sold it. It's actually a three-place airplane called the Dykes Delta. There were three of them at Oshkosh this year. So you can see the progression of some of the aircraft from fabric and metal into what is here, the Lancer, and it's a foam airplane, foam and fiberglass composite. One of the other divisions of the EAA. Yet we go back to aircraft like the Soraka, which is about 4 hangars down, and beautiful airplane, and restored by one of our chapter members, Dwayne Huff. And that flies kids about once a month. So it's a 1946 airplane, still flies like a dream. One of the other divisions, of course, the warbirds, and that's if you have deep pockets. When you start spending money like $2 million, $2.5 million, and on up for some of the warbirds, you've got to have an organization behind you. And of course, the acrobatic aircraft that show up at Oshkosh every year. Always a fabulous air show. So it's a convention at Oshkosh, but it's also an air show. One of our other members, Jeff Patno, who used to be, he's moved now with a small ultralight type of home build. And of course, the ultralights. So the 6 divisions of EAA start with the ultralights, and they go to the light sport, which is relatively new, and this type of aircraft. Most of them are being built outside of the country. The whole idea was to build an affordable airplane, something around $75,000 to $90,000. They haven't quite made it. It's up a little higher. So that's really what EAA is probably best known for. But the chapters themselves are what make EAA function. And we're just one of about 1,000 chapters within the organization. And all sorts of activities, as the amateur radio community has done. We do things that are fun. We have the pancake breakfast, we have flyouts. We do a lot of work with outreach to young people, because if we don't reach out to the youth, who's going to replace us? As I look around, we have the same problem in amateur radio, and I'm sure everyone knows that. So it's been an interesting progression from when I started on up through and watching things change within amateur radio and within EAA. And people from all over the country and all over the world come to Oshkosh for that 1 week period of time for the convention and for the technology that's there, and of course for the air shows. All sorts of birds fly to Oshkosh. So. And the museum, they have a fabulous museum. I think it's one of the top 3 in the country. Obviously, Smithsonian has the originals of many of the aircraft that we all know from history, but Oshkosh within its museum has many of the experimental type aircraft that are around, and you can see through the time progression that aviation is still alive and well, within the museums. These are all flying aircraft. Outside of the museum, they have what's called the Pioneer Airport. It's behind the main museum, but it's not on the main runway at Oshkosh. It has its own runway, and it's called Pioneer Airport. And every year during the convention, they put together what's called Kid Venture. And it's really a fabulous job. They reach out to the youth that are there, and there are a lot of young people, fortunately, and they do a lot of educational things. We fly the tri-motor. I think many of you probably participated when we had the Ford tri-motor here. We hope to have that back again. It travels the country. So we only get it when it's on the East Coast. That and, of course, the B-17. So, again, we'll do W4, I'll get it right, W4LZU, which is, of course, the station here at the hangar. And we have a magazine just like QST or 73 or any of the magazines for the amateur radio population. It's focused on aviation, but there's a technology aspect of a lot of hands-on training that is related to the aviation aircraft builders. And within the chapter, as many of you probably know, we have an outreach for the kids where we're building 3 airplanes. I forget which ones they put on the screen, but this is an ultralight beacon pole that the kids are building, and they're doing a wonderful job. If you have time one Saturday, or after the meeting time, if you want to see it, I'd be more than happy to open up the hangar. If we don't train the kids and get them involved, no one's going to be there to replace us. It's a technology. Most of these kids have no experience with hand tools. Their parents don't use hand tools. So giving them an opportunity to work with wood, work with metal, and do some building, learning how to read plans is a totally new experience for the kids. And it's marvelous to watch them as they absorb some of this education. And most of them are really turned on by the aviation aspect. What we do is we pay them $7.50 in credit for every hour that they work on the aircraft. And that's used to for one of the flying clubs for flying time. So every 10 hours they work, $75. The flying club gives us the airplane with fuel and instructor for that $75. We've had a couple kids get their license. We've had a bunch of them solo. So it's a great experience. We also do a summer school right here. And it starts out with model aviation and works its way up. They build toolboxes, they build wing ribs, and, they get some flying time, and it's a good experience for them. We're not turning them all into pilots, but we're just opening up that avenue for them to see what's going on. And of course, the Young Eagles. I think everyone has heard me talk or heard speaking about the Young Eagle program, where we take the kids for an introductory airplane ride. Again, not going to make pilots out of them all, but we're going to at least give them that experience. There's I think the Aranca, a bunch of the kids that have flown in it. The gentleman who owns that airplane has flown, I don't remember the exact, Paul, do you remember what,
It's
600 something?
Yeah, it's over 600.
Over 600 kids, one at a time, in that airplane. So it's quite a thrill. So that's our EAA and our chapter system. And when I looked at the website, it said that you wanted something on Oshkosh. If I can find the mouse. So. Come on, there we go.